All right, I want to talk about a couple of jobs that I did. This was yesterday, and there was some unusual things going on at this tree. There was all kinds of artifacts by somebody who was being creative in a way of holding up the branches. And I started looking at it and I realized, okay, this is very odd. This piece of wood was not part of the tree. It was like he put a piece of firewood up there and ran a lag screw or a bolt all the way through. And then there's all kinds of ropes, and I don't get it. The ropes are really old. So, anyway, my job for this tree, the client said, okay, it's weak. I need to keep it smaller. Can you condense it? And I said, well, what are you talking about? He says, 3 or 4 feet all the way around. So I did the best job I could. And in the backyard, he had a Chinese elm. And this was also weird. Look at this big steel pole that's supporting the tree. It's been like that for a long time. And the pole is actually bending. So does that mean the tree is pushing it over? Or is it the expansion of the wood that's causing the pole to flex? But anyway, we had to do some significant weight reduction on this tree all the way around, lift it up. And it's always interesting when you talk to somebody trying to get their criteria. You know, they love the shade, but they want it a little bit up off the house and a little bit up off of one other side. So this is what it looked like before I did anything. There was a lot there. Now, when I started looking around, I started seeing all these different things, and I was informed that the father, who sadly passed away, was a metal worker, and he actually made this gate latch. And I think it's really clever. You turn it either way and it still opens up, rings a little bell. I really like that. A couple of ram's horns. And as I was looking around the property, I saw all kinds of evidence of who this guy was. He passed away, about 10 years ago. He had this vise in the backyard, and this is for pipes, I believe. Something that was maybe just holding round pieces of metal, but it was a really solid buildup. That pipe is strong into the ground there. There's Ed's shed, so I guess the dad's name was Ed. Lucky horseshoes. I guess he was an artist, or maybe somebody else has taken over the shed. Anyway, back to the front yard. I got up there. This was a female tree, and it was loaded with berries. Lots of beautiful fall color right now. This is just an outstanding looking tree. And I'll show you what it looks like after I finish it. There it is. That's condensed by 3 to 4 feet all the way around. And while I was up there, I saw that the wires had either squirrels or rats chewing on them, probably squirrels. And there was so much damage on the wires. Those were the telephone wires, the main telephone cables. And with everybody switching to cell phones, I guess they don't care to fix them. I don't know. Most people don't have landlines anymore.
It's got some decay in the base. I'll bet this tree is hollow. This is kind of interesting. I don't know what that is, but you see this sign right here? I'm noticing this a lot in liquid ambers lately. It's some kind of a trunk canker, and I've seen many liquid ambers succumb to this. It's losing all its leaves, so our cleanup shouldn't be as bad as it could be. Fortunately, I'm able to put the bucket right up next to it near the house. They've got a metal roof, and I always point out any damage that I see, like right there and right there. We're gonna rope everything down. Not a bad job, but we're kind of chasing the weather, getting ahead of it.
So this is a removal, and the wind started picking up. It wasn't raining yet, but we decided to push it as fast as we could. I wanted to show this neighbor's tree here. This is a deodar cedar that somebody talked him into topping it. And the other neighbor had an ash tree that was topped pretty sadly. And as I'm looking around the whole neighborhood, I see lots and lots of trees. Well, that one's a basket case, but there was a lot of trees that were topped around here. This is a ring that I am really very happy to use. If you've never used rings, I highly recommend them. You can set up a false crotch anywhere in the tree, even on a slick part, and it holds, and you run your rope through it. And the nice thing about it is when you're pulling the rope back up, the guy on the ground puts a knot in it and it can't go through. If you're using a crotch, that could be a problem. And if you're tying something off, like I am here, just tie a quick knot in the bottom. That gives you, it kind of holds your rope from sliding up. You can work it. Here I have got it all set up. I made the cut. Sorry I didn't show it to you, but it was going pretty fast, pretty efficiently. I honestly didn't really take enough time to shoot video for this project. I wanted to show this ring because they are so helpful. There's so many reasons why you should consider using rings for lowering or for redirects or for a lot of reasons. Look at that beautiful foliage. Kind of sad we're taking the tree down, but I want to show you something a little bit further along. This tree had been topped repeatedly many times. Here we're at the last stages of this removal. I went up there and I just chunked wood down and threw it onto a pile of other wood. Had to make good shots so that it wouldn't crack the bricks down there. This is what I'm going to show you. Here's where it was topped years ago, and you can see how much decay there is throughout the whole top of the tree. So all the new growth was coming off of these rotten spots everywhere. But unless you got up there and looked at it really closely, you wouldn't know that. So this is interesting here. I've got this brick walkway that I've got to be careful of, and I decided that I wanted to drop it in one big piece. So if I dropped the weight of that trunk onto the bricks, I'm sure I would have caused a lot of damage. So I'm going to show you how I decided to do this. I had Jorge set up the rope in such a way that we had some leverage and we could double up, triple up the pulling power through a carabiner, and it was kind of like a trucker's hitch, but a little bit smoother. And what I did is I came in from the back side. I'll show you in a little bit here. And I opted not to cut a wedge in the front. So what I did is I just kept cutting and cutting and cutting, but stopped at a point where I believed we could pull it over and break it off rather than have it drop with the full force of all that wood. Which means you've got to calculate the place to stop cutting. And if you go too far, then it's not going to do any good. So here Jorge's setting it all up, and I'm getting ready to get in there with my 500i. Love that tool. So I start cutting, and Jorge's still setting this up. I stopped cutting to make sure he was ready because I wanted to come over and help him pull. Get out of the way. You're in front of the camera. I just set the camera on the ground. He didn't even know it was there. So I am paying attention to him, and I slowed down. There we go. We put probably 3 times the pulling power on this rope. And I continue cutting. Now, calculating where to stop cutting and guessing how much it's going to take to break the wood or have the wood bend over was, I guess it's just years of experience that told me what to do. And the two of us went over there and we started pulling on it. And I didn't want the butt to break off. I wanted it to hold tight. And you can see it goes slowly onto that bigger pieces of wood first and the rest of the wood that dampened the blow. Thank you, Jorge. This shows you the decay. I expected it to be even further rotted out. I thought this tree would be completely hollow, but they wanted it out of there for other reasons as well. We were able to salvage some of the logs into 5-foot pieces. I took them back home to my mill. I'll make some lumber out of them, and that's the chips from the tree. That is the entire tree. I'm going to use it for landscaping in my yard. Hey, thanks for watching, and please subscribe. If you're not subscribed, hit the bell, and you know what to do.